We are here with Tim Ackerman talking about the school levy for Milford School District. Tim, we didn't pass the last one, and we're up to number 2. How is this one different?
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Appreciate it. Well, the difference is that it's not really different. Actually, it's going to be the same amount of millage as last time, a 4.5 mil levy. It will cost a homeowner of a $100,000 home $137. So it's $137 for every $100,000 worth of home value. We actually, to keep it at a 4.5 mil levy, we made $1.4 million more in reductions so that we didn't have to increase the levy amount. And really the only reason we're running a levy is because the state over the last 3 to 4 years has cut our funding $4 million. So that $4 million in state funding cuts is the only reason we're running this levy. If that money would not have been cut, we could have made the previous levy last another 3 to 5 years.
So is there a plan A and B right now of what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean there is. If the levy passes, the $1.4 million in reductions will continue to go into effect. Those are eliminating some more teaching positions, some more aide positions, reducing budgets in certain areas, renegotiating some contracts with certain classifications of people within the district, and the teachers are taking a pay freeze, and that's on their steps as well for next school year. The administrators have not had a raise in 2 years, so I know there's some questions about personnel, and we have not increased our personnel. So really everything will stay into effect. Specials, art, music, PE will stay into effect. Our AP offerings will stay into effect. Even if the levy fails, Plan B, if the levy fails, all those things will stay in effect as well. We're trying not to take down our core programming. And really the big thing with Plan B, if the levy fails, will be we'll have to make another $2.4 million in reductions.
Tim, what has the district done in order to prepare for this onslaught?
Yeah, well, we actually, when we found out that the money was going to start being cut from our budget years ago, we started making reductions then. We've actually made $20 million in reductions out of our 5-year forecast. And we did that 2 years ago by eliminating 18 teaching positions, 4 administrative positions. We looked at all the different areas across the board as far as curriculum instruction, athletics, business and operations. We've made numerous reductions to get to that $20 million to prepare for this upcoming levy so that we could run a smaller levy that would be as affordable as possible for people when we knew that we would have to run it.
Is anything going to change on busing?
The thing that will change in busing is if the levy fails, we will have to go back to state minimum busing, and that means no high school busing for anybody, and a 2-mile radius. If you live within a 2-mile radius of your school, you will not get transportation. And that's about a $1.3 million in savings. And again, those are things that we're trying to do so that we can save our academic program as much as possible.
And what about class size?
Class sizes are the highest that they've been at our junior high and at our high school. We always try to keep our class sizes lower in the elementary schools, especially in K1 and 2, but they're still reasonable. I mean, for us, a reasonable class size in kindergarten is 24 students. Reasonable class sizes in 1st and 2nd grade are 24 to 27 students. That's reasonable to us, and that's what we try to keep it at.
So for the guy that says, I'm just not going to pay for anything else, as a real estate person, I know the value of this, and I've seen what's happened to some surrounding areas. How bad is it if we don't pass this?
Well, it just comes down to, we're at a point now to where we've made so many reductions, and that our cost per pupil is one of the lowest amongst the school districts that we're compared to, as well as our administrative costs per pupil are the lowest amongst the school districts that we're compared to. that any cut that we make from this point forward is going to have a direct effect on the core academic programming. So, you know, it's going to have, it's always going to have an effect on the quality of the education that our kids get. And when that happens, obviously, compared to other school districts, you see what starts happening with housing values and what starts happening with the either ease or difficulty in selling your house.
Right. Well, we've had really a strong district reputation for quite a while, and 20 years ago that was not the case. But if you look at our schools and the new schools compared to some of the other places around here, the district really looks good.
Yeah, Kevin, we've really done a lot to increase the academic quality of our program. Our high school was just recognized by one of the top high schools in the country for the number of kids taking AP classes and the number of kids that we've increased taking AP classes. 3 years ago, we had roughly 150 kids taking AP classes. We're now up to almost 600 kids taking AP classes at our high school. And we were recognized for that and put on the AP honor roll nationally. Our performance index is what the state ranks us on, and our performance index has increased over 5 points from 100 to 105. And our performance index ranks amongst some of the top in the area schools around us. So academically, we have an excellent program, and we feel like that we've done a great job providing an excellent education at a really reasonable cost.
Great. Tim, there's been some talk about the governor's budget possibly giving the district more money. What do you have to comment on that?
Yeah, great question. The governor's budget bill came out, and just so everyone knows, it has not been voted on yet. It actually will not be voted on until the end of May to the middle of June. So we really won't even know what money we will or won't get until that time, which is after the levy. In his first proposal, it was a significant increase in funding to us, but it was nothing close to the amount of money that we're losing from the state. So even if we did get that money in the best case scenario, we would still have to run an operating levy even with that money. But the last governor proposed to increase funding to school districts. The school districts that didn't get increased funding worked with their legislators to make sure that they got some of that money, and what was initially proposed, no one got. So, you know, right now our feeling is what's being initially proposed, the state's leaving out 60% of all the school districts in the state, which won't get any additional funding, and we're believing that they'll work with their legislators to get some of that, so we won't get the amount that's being proposed now. And again, we won't even know that until the middle of May to the end of June. If for some reason we do get increased funding, then we'll look at some of the things that have been reduced to possibly bring those back. And also, it could help us make this levy last even longer than what we're promising.
So how long, assuming this passes, what's the next thing to hit the taxpayer? Are we going to expect this over the next year, 2 or 3?
Yeah, we're promising this to last at least 3 years. And if we can get more increased revenues and more funding, we hope to make it last at least 5 years. But we're promising for it to last at least 3 years.